Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options in Play video update. So, as we head into basically the most busy section of retail earnings that we're going to see this quarter, or one of the busiest stretches, the main question is whether overall market volatility is going to kind of overshadow earnings again. Because what we saw this past week is that with the market going absolutely crazy, earnings definitely took kind of a backseat. So this week, it's going to be kind of a fluid situation. You definitely want to maybe more of a take more of like a reactionary role versus anticipatory when it comes to these plays. Like if you see earnings start to move, then you start to focus more on earnings. If not, maybe looking more defensive strategies, maybe more volatility. So like calendar spread. So like taking advantage of like the very expensive near-term volatility. So definitely a fluid situation. Imagine it's going to be a kind of a crazy week again. So definitely a lot going on in terms of earnings, but it's going to be interesting to see whether the overall volatility in the market kind of dominates the action again. All right. So kicking things off after the close, Monday, Tilray. So 3 points is what's expected here. So pure CGC, surprisingly good, but it hasn't really helped the sector much. So they just reported a couple weeks ago, things improved, but then like a lot of stocks started to roll back down. So Tilray actually at a 52-week low. Expectations seem pretty low, but options also seem a little bit more on the higher end too. So if I had to maybe look at like a name in this group, maybe I go with CGC just because they already reported an option prices not as high relatively speaking, and it probably should respond to this Tilray number. So I might just look at that more as like a sympathy trade. Before the open Tuesday, a couple retailers. So Kohls, 4 points is what's priced in. They already guided holiday sales, so this is going to be kind of a pattern with a lot of the retail names this week. So they already guided holiday sales, so I don't know if it's going to move as much. Chart looks pretty broken though. I mean, it lost like a really key long-term level of support. Right? You can see, and it's coming into like a even bigger one down in like the mid 30s. So the last quarter wasn't good. Holiday guide wasn't good. The chart doesn't look good. So you can see where I'm going with that. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a big mover, but it does seem like the chart's set up for lower prices. Target, another retailer on Tuesday morning. So 9 points is what's priced in. Surprisingly weak holiday comp. So they crushed it a couple quarters in a row, and then they had like a surprisingly weak holiday comp. Really hurt momentum. Stock has rolled over, and it's right at the gap from August, which you can see. Now, I feel like the options seem kind of expensive considering they already guided early, and I have, for the most part, been avoiding the retailers that have guided early. So I'll probably leave this alone, but may look like right in the aftermath of numbers for like an opportunity because I mean if it gaps up maybe look to fade, if it gaps lower maybe look to reverse because it does seem like it's one of the better retail names out there. So if it does get hit, maybe step in for like a maybe oversold bounce. If the gaps up, maybe see if it like kind of rolls over because again everything is kind of weak right now. But at 9 points, it seems kind of high, so I might leave that one alone. SC. So 7.5 points is what's priced in on this one. Those are monthly options, though. Strong quarter in November. Stock was just on a tear through the beginning of the year. Pulled back, but actually held in reasonably well. I mean, it held the 50-day pretty nicely. And coming off a couple good quarters, stock was pretty strong. Hold it in above that 50-day. So I feel like this is one that could be a decent bounce back candidate, especially if like the slowing stalls or slow or if the selling slows down or even stalls, maybe just kind of consolidates. This one could be one that maybe you get a nice bounce in it. All right, Tuesday after the bell, Ambarella. So 7.5 points is what's priced in on this. It's had a couple strong quarters in a row, but semis are reeling right now from the coronavirus fears. So I would expect a decent quarter, but the guidance is probably going to be an issue, right? Anybody that has any like operations or any like retail gets any sales from like China, definitely a lot of uncertainty right now. So I feel like it's a little bit tougher for setup. Just due to like the overall like near-term environment. But this is one that I focused sometimes on like trades in the past, like after earnings. It does tend to get like a pretty good like kind of like push in like certain directions, right? So you can see kind of extended reversal in November, but then it went on a nice run after. So this is one I might look for like a swing trade right in the aftermath. All right, Nordstrom. So Nordstrom, 5.25 is what's priced in, and it seems high, but that's also because they didn't guide January sales and holiday sales in January. So um, to me, it definitely seems like one of the more interesting retail names for that fact. It does seem like there's a path for like 5+ points either way, but with options priced in at 5.25, I feel like the only way to really capitalize on that type of move, you would have to get risk down somehow because options are expensive. So volatility strategy, but maybe with like strangles, spreads on both sides. It's basically some way to get like that overall risk down on this one. Urban, it's another retailer. 3 points was priced in. They had disappointing results in November. Just broke key support here, and not my favorite name to trade, but it does seem like there's still room lower. Coming off like a weaker quarter. November stock looks kind of weak. Seems like it has a path down to retest the August low potentially, which is like 3 or 4 points underneath. So it seems more of like a bearish setup to me. And then Viva, so software stock, 16.5 points was priced in, but those are monthly options. High growth, high valuation software names have actually hung in pretty well, all things considered. And I don't, I still am not seeing these names, like these software names, really get rewarded around earnings. So like that's a little bit where my hesitation lies, right? Like so, like this past week you had Salesforce, you had Workday, Trade Desk, all moved less than what the option market was expecting. So, laying out the money on Viva, which is like almost like a second or like third name on the software list for me, it's kind of tough. Maybe if you're looking at it, maybe like a longer term strategy, like 2 months out, or even like look at like maybe like a calendar spread, right? Because some of these software stocks more muted responses, but then it seems like when things kind of bounce or firm up, these are some of the first names to rebound. So maybe like a calendar spread, something to take advantage of like that high implied near term implied volatility. All right. Wednesday before the open, just one really, Dollar Tree. So 7.5 points, give or take, is what they're expecting there. This was absolutely crushed in November, and it hasn't bounced. So it seems like like a lot of stocks got hit this week, but it was one of the names that was in like a really nice consolidation prior to the last few days. So it does seem like if you go back longer, that there's still like the recipe for a long-term, a bigger move on this, just based off like the long-term chart. Like you can see what I mean here, right? So it seems like it's like a nice setup for a volatility strategy, and like 10+ points, like last time, like it doesn't seem that unrealistic. So volatility strategy, even like Dollar General, I mean, usually it responds to the Dollar Tree number, so it could be like a nice way to like approach it too, like a sympathy trade. After the bell on Wednesday, a couple tech names. So Marvell, chip stock, 2.25 is what they're pricing in. Stock has really been hit hard the last couple weeks, and it's below all key support levels, like all key like recent support levels. We've traded this one in the past, but I mean, right now it doesn't look very compelling from like a long or short perspective, and I feel like any strategy would need to be like much longer term in nature. So I just don't see like a really like compelling strategy or a really compelling setup on this at the moment. Splunk. So a couple software stocks now. So Splunk, 17 points, what they're looking for here. It's held in better than some other software names. Coming off a solid quarter, November finally broke through kind of like a multi-year resistance level. You can see here. Like I feel like it could be like a good name for like a bounce back if things kind of firm up or even consolidate, because it held in well, it rolled over, held above the previous long-term area of resistance, coming off a good quarter, so definitely more bullish biased on this one. And then Zoom, which a little bit different story at the moment. So 21 points, which is options are very expensive on this, but it's been rallying as a coronavirus play. So expectations are very high, similar to the option pricing on this. Like even like the expectations could be very, very, very high on this. So I do think it's going to be a mover, but at 20 points, I mean, it would have to be a massive, massive move just to get your premium back on the option. So it seems like a tough call on me. I'm on the fence with it. Might be more of a game time decision because, Wednesday after the bell, that's basically 3 full sessions, and who knows where it's going to be at that point. So, if it's up a lot from where, if it's up a lot in like the 120s, maybe look for bearish. If it rolls over and is in like the 90s, maybe look at a bullish. So definitely more of like a game time decision for me though. Okay, Thursday before the open, Burlington, so retailer, 21 points is what's expected here. They did guide holiday sales just a couple weeks ago, though, so 21 points actually seems pretty high going into this quarter. TJX, though, so another off-price name, was really solid. They just reported, and this has rolled off its high, so maybe if it stays down, look for maybe some sort of strategy looking for like a quick bounce back because TJX was good. That snapped back. Burlington already guided positive holiday sales, so maybe if they can deliver like sales for this year that are positive, maybe get like a quick snapback. Before the open, also on Thursday, Siena. So this has had some massive moves the last couple quarters. They've basically crushed it both times. Stock was up a ton. I'd be bullish biased again on it. I mean, they might have mixed guidance, but I mean, it's crushed it 2 times in a row, and it's basically only up like 2 points, 2.5 points from where it was, prior to crushing it both of those quarters. So, I mean, it does seem like if they can turn in another good number and it gets back into like the low 40s, I mean, there's potential for a pretty big move higher, like a pent up breakout. So I might look at more of like a speculative bullish strategy on this one, maybe something like a little bit further out of the money. Thursday after the close, a couple bigger names. So Costco is looking at maybe like a 19-point move, and this is a big retail report. They give monthly comps, so usually it isn't that big of a mover when earnings roll around, right? But stock has really been impressive over the past year, and it was hanging in really up just until this past week. I mean, it actually was at a 52-week high on Monday, I believe. So, I mean, it was really one of the standouts in retail just until this past week. So, it is down a lot off its recent high. Now, the thing is, like, are they going to have any impact from the China supply disruptions, right? Like, is there disruptions to the supply chain? And the thing is, like, the valuation is pretty stretched on this. So, I mean, I think it should be solid, but any concerns could have a little bit more of like an outsized impact because again it's had a huge run and the valuation is definitely on the higher end. So I might look at maybe like a cheaper volatility strategy potentially just to see if like quick snapback or maybe has even more room lower. Okta, so this is a interesting software name too. So 13 points is what's priced in on this. This again held in relatively well, all things considered. It did get hit, but for the most part, it held in pretty well. I mean, Friday closed pretty substantially green too. So the last few quarters, it hasn't been rewarded for its numbers. So that's more where my hesitation lies. I do like trading Okta. We've traded in the past, and while it doesn't really have large swings on earnings, it does tend to move pretty well for like certain stretches after the numbers. So this is one where I'll probably hold off on the actual report, but then look at it like right after earnings come out to see if there's like a trade opportunity, especially if it's good and it can get back up closer to like 140 because you can see like could be a really nice pent up breakout if it actually gets up to like 140 with some really strong participation. And then last Thursday, the last but not least Thursday after the close, Progeny, so PGNY. So 6.25 is what's priced in. Those are monthly options though. So it's a newish IPO, had some momentum, just rolled off its high, but still holding in pretty well. Still looks pretty good actually technically. First report was solid, didn't really move much though. But I think that this is one that maybe you could get like a quick snapback because short interest is pretty high. Still has a pretty good technical setup. Had momentum just until the last like week and a half. So it does seem like a name that could be set up too for like kind of like a quick snapback if the numbers are really solid this week. And that's it. So nothing before the open on Friday really catches my eye. So you can see still some bigger names, some volatile names, some big priced in moves certainly. But it's going to be, like a fluid situation, like I said at the beginning of the video. I mean, really kind of weighing whether earnings are getting rewarded or, is the overall market volatility just kind of like dominating the action like this past week. So, kind of like a day-to-day situation. But some interesting setups out there, right? So if you like these videos and you're looking for more information on options trading or options education, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. All right? Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.